Labour's catastrophic fall from grace has shocked the country, and its decline has only worsened in the few months since Keir Starmer took office. Starmer, who campaigned on promises of integrity, change, and a new era in British politics, now faces one of the most humiliating series of by-election defeats seen in recent political history. This should be a wake-up call for Labour, but instead, it signals the beginning of a deeper collapse for a party that has found itself embroiled in scandal, broken promises, and internal rebellion. The statistics are stark. In just 3 months, Labour has lost 11 council seats across the country in key by-elections. Once safe, Labour strongholds are now crumbling under the weight of Starmer's ineffective leadership and his government's failure to deliver on its promises. Many believed that Starmer's first months in office would be a honeymoon period of sorts, a time to reset and build a strong foundation. Instead, Labour has been plagued by negative headlines, free-falling in local elections, and public anger over its poor governance. Perhaps most humiliating for Starmer was Labour's defeat in Blackpool, where Reform UK gained the Martin Ward seat from Labour in a result described as a political tsunami by Lee Anderson, Reform UK's whip. Anderson didn't mince his words. He sees the defeat as the beginning of the end for Labour, stating that this victory is just the start of what could be a string of wins for Reform UK across the country. For a party that has positioned itself as the alternative to the status quo, the fact that Reform UK is gaining ground in traditional Labour heartlands is nothing short of disastrous for Starmer. But Blackpool is just the tip of the iceberg. In Heanor and Loscoe Town Council in Derbyshire, another critical Labour seat was lost to Reform UK. The message is clear. Voters are fed up with Labour's failures, and they are turning to parties that seem to better understand their frustrations and anger. The Green Party has also capitalised on Labour's losses, securing a victory in the Scotforth East by-election for Lancaster City Council. Meanwhile, the Scottish National Party, SNP, delivered a humiliating blow to Scottish Labour by winning key by-elections for Dundee City Council. Labour's loss of a seat in Lochie is a significant defeat, one that reveals the deeper cracks in Starmer's political strategy. This series of electoral failures comes at a particularly sensitive time for Starmer, who has been trying to distance his government from the scandals that have engulfed it. Despite his promises to bring honesty and decency back to British politics, Starmer and his ministers have been caught up in a series of damaging revelations. From accepting lavish gifts and donations to enjoying exclusive access to luxury penthouses during the election campaign, it seems Labour has quickly fallen into the same traps as its predecessors. For many voters, the revelations about Starmer's personal acceptance of expensive gifts, including designer glasses, high-end clothing, and the use of a multi-million-pound penthouse, have been a turning point. This isn't the Labour that many hoped for when they voted for change. Instead, it's a party that seems more interested in enjoying the perks of power than in fulfilling its promises to the British people. Starmer's attempt to deflect criticism by returning some of the freebies, over £6,000 worth, has done little to quell the growing anger among voters, many of whom feel betrayed by the man they thought would bring integrity back to government. The controversies surrounding Starmer's government haven't been confined to his own actions. Several of his ministers have also found themselves embroiled in scandal, with reports surfacing that members of his frontbench team have accepted free tickets to concerts, sporting events, and other luxury perks. The revelations have tarnished Labour's image, making it look increasingly like a party that is out of touch with the realities of everyday life for ordinary people. As one former Labour supporter put it, "They're acting like they're already royalty, enjoying all the perks while we struggle." As if the scandals weren't bad enough, Labour has also faced accusations of hypocrisy. Starmer's government campaigned on a platform of transparency and accountability, yet it now finds itself mired in secrecy and scandal. Voters who expected a fresh approach to politics have been left feeling disillusioned, and they're expressing their frustrations at the ballot box. With each by-election defeat, the message is becoming clearer. Starmer's leadership is failing, and unless Labour changes course, it will face an even bigger collapse in the future. Labour's defeats are not just a matter of lost council seats, they are a sign of a much deeper problem within the party. Voters are using these by-elections as a way to vent their anger and dissatisfaction with Starmer's government. By-elections are often seen as a barometer for public opinion, and if the current trend continues, Labour could be in serious trouble heading into the local elections in May 2025. The discontent among Labour's traditional base is palpable, and many are turning to alternative parties like Reform UK, the Conservatives, and the Greens to express their disillusionment. The Reform UK victories in particular are a cause for concern for Labour. Nigel Farage's Populist Party has been gaining momentum, positioning itself as the voice of the working class and those who feel left behind by Labour's elitism. Farage's rhetoric, which taps into the frustrations of voters who feel abandoned by the political establishment, is striking a chord with an electorate that is tired of being ignored. In areas like Blackpool, where Labour once had a stronghold, Farage's party is making significant gains, and if Labour doesn't take action soon, it could see these trends continue across the country. The Conservatives, too, have been quick to capitalise on Labour's failures. Despite their own internal divisions and controversies, the Tories have managed to secure 5 council seats from Labour in key by-elections in areas like St Albans and Worthing in Sussex. These victories suggest that, while the Conservatives are far from perfect, they are still seen as a viable alternative to Labour. With the local elections looming, the Tories are preparing to capitalise on Labour's weakness, and if the current trends continue, they could see a resurgence in voter support. The growing discontent within Labour is not just limited to the electorate, it's also becoming evident within the party itself. Some Labour MPs and councillors are beginning to voice their frustrations with Starmer's leadership, warning that his refusal to address the scandals and his dismissive attitude toward criticism are alienating voters. There are even rumblings of an internal rebellion within Labour, as councillors and MPs grow increasingly concerned about the direction the party is heading. Starmer, for his part, has shown little willingness to change course. Rather than acknowledging Labour's failures and working to rebuild trust with voters, he has doubled down on his government's decisions, refusing to admit fault or offer any meaningful apologies. This arrogance is only deepening the divide within the party, and if Starmer doesn't act soon, he risks facing further rebellions from within his own ranks. Looking ahead, Labour's future looks uncertain. The by-election losses are just the beginning, and unless Starmer can turn things around, Labour could face an even greater collapse in the local elections next year. Reform UK is gaining ground, the Conservatives are regrouping, and the Greens are growing stronger. Starmer's leadership will be tested like never before, and the coming months will determine whether Labour can survive this crisis or whether it will be remembered as one of the shortest and most chaotic governments in British political history. The question now is, can Labour recover from this, or will Starmer's government continue to unravel, leaving the party in ruins? If the current trajectory is any indication, Labour is headed for more trouble, and the voters, it seems, are ready to make their voices heard.